Morning, everyone. It's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. This morning, I'm going to take a look at the chart of Prince, the musician. Um, he was very popular when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, and he was kind of an enigma, an icon. Really, just a diverse musician, extremely talented. Played a host of different instruments. I think he played all the instruments on his, most or all the instruments on his music. Extremely prolific. Um, yeah, just an amazing all-around talent, musical talent. So June 7th, 1958, 6:17 p.m. Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's 2 days after me. Not the same year, obviously, but I was born June 5th. So his sun is right next to my sun, basically, in Gemini. So sun in Gemini, I mean, very talented, very diverse, and obviously his Mercury's right there in Gemini in the 7th house. Sun is approaching the 8th house, right up conjunct the 8th house cusp, basically, on the 7th house side. So that, still very strong in sort of relationship, like being a star on stage, being seen, being heard, but it sort of casts a darker shade to the sun. Like he's a little bit darker. He's not like Michael Jackson had his sun, fully in the 7th house. Prince, there's a little bit of like mystery going on with him, like occult interests, stuff like that, like a little bit dark. The sexuality is oozing out of Prince. That's the 8th house influence, right? That's not to mention the Scorpio ascendant, but we'll get there. But he was really into like occult stuff, the secrets, conspiracy theories, stuff like that. If you ever heard interviews of him, he was a very deep thinker. And that's all the 8th house influence. But still being 7th house is still like reaching out to the masses, being a huge influence. I mean, difficult in relationships, I'm sure. But, as far as being like a star, as far as being somebody like in relationships where he's playing the dominant role, he had these underling relationships where he'd take on like these younger women and support them, making them into stars. I can't remember who, Sheila E. or something like that. Anyway, those type of relationships, yeah. But equality relationships, probably not so much. I mean, this is he's more like a dominant type guy where he has to take the role, he has to take the leadership, especially with the 8th house, sun moving into the 8th house, but sun in the 7th house too. I mean, sun in the 7th house is not easy for relationships. It's just too much energy, too much light, the ego is too strong in the 7th house. It kind of blinds the other person. But we can see like the skills, the really strong skills, because sun's dispositor Mercury is in Gemini. So Mercury here is really strong. Mercury rules skills of the hands, rules talents in general. So he's definitely, so it's controlling the 8th house cusp and the 11th house cusp. So career success, networking, things like that. But like all the multi-instruments that he played, he could play, he could shred the guitar, he could play piano, he could play all the instruments, basically. That's the skills of Gemini. That's really prominent in his charts. And then moon in Pisces. We see this a lot with artists and musicians, moon in Pisces, because it's just such fertile ground for creativity. The moon is our heart, our emotions. It's right conjunct the IC. That's great for happiness, emotional security. The moon, home, this is the home. And the moon is like the home. So home is where the heart is. That's really what this symbolizes. Again, highly creative, highly imaginative, wonderful aspect for an artist, truly. Um, so, yeah. Moving right along, the ascendant is in Scorpio. So I have my ascendant in Scorpio. I've probably said that a million times already. But Scorpio is really deep, really passionate, very intense, and definitely likes to transform itself, which Prince has done. I mean, Prince is not even his original name. I don't know what it is, but he changed his name to, like, you know, the symbol for a while, then he changed it back to Prince. So that's all very Scorpionic, because Scorpio is transformative and the ascendant is the self. But that further adds to his, you know, the sexuality, the overt sexuality that he had going on, and the kind of mysterious quality that, if you ever seen him in interviews, he's just like, he's deep and he's intense and he's talking about all these deep things, sort of like I do, right? I'm Gemini ascendant with, Scorpio ascendant with Gemini Sun and Venus in the 8th house. Mine's fully in the 8th house. So, you know, he and I are both going to get all like deep and conspiratorial about life and stuff like that. Yeah, so let's see what else. So his voice, obviously. So here we have third lord, second house. So here we have the expression, the skills, the talents, the communication is moving into the second house of the voice. Saturn. Okay, this is why he can do the like that shrills, you know, high pitched screeching. That's very Saturnian, and it's bringing skills into his voice. So very skilled voice. So a lot of times you'll see second and third house intermixing with singers, and we see that here very strongly. Yeah. And fourth house. So from early childhood, you know, singing was very strong for him. He actually got his first record deal at age 19. So you can see how young he started. And if we look at the co-ruler of the fourth house cup in Aquarius, it's Uranus, right there in Leo, in the 9th house, quadrant 9th house. But this is the 10th sign. This is very prominent. So it's showing some high, quick rise to fame from early childhood. Leo's the sign of fame. This is a very prominent Uranus, kind of shocking public presence, and he was very shocking. You know, he was always shocking people in one way or another with his, like, you know, his ass chaps that he wore, you know, bearing his ass, or like his provocative dance moves, or like, I don't know, you know, the artist calling himself the artist formerly known as Prince, or like just being crazy. You know, the eyeglasses with the third eye, that was cool. It's very much like the 8th house influence, but also like Jupiter, Neptune, 12th house, North Node in the 12th house. Neptune in the 12th house is very spiritual. So is Jupiter in the 12th house. He had a very spiritual component to him. Very, you know, he was very aware, very high consciousness overall. Like he was, you know, he came from somewhere else to bring us, you know, crazy new wild music. Pluto's conjunct is MC. Conjunct the Regulus. This is the fixed star Regulus. This is the heart of the lion. Same degree Trump's ascendant is at. Very powerful, very strong degree. Fantastic for fame and success. Pluto creates obsessive career success when it's conjunct the MC. It's like obsessive career, passionate, deep, intense career. You know, that career that goes through transformations. Again, that Scorpionic thing, where he's changing his whole dynamic, changing his name, changing his style, changing everything periodically, changing his look. And he did that. He was very successful with many different types of music. Incredibly diverse. I mean, that's also Gemini. Gemini's, remember, the jack of all trades. But with the 8th house Scorpio influence, it's going deep. This is not a superficial Gemini, right? It's a deep Gemini. A Gemini that transforms and changes, because Gemini changes anyway, and so does Scorpio. So this is change upon change. Gemini rules the surface change, just like flitting from one thing to another like a butterfly. Scorpio, Pluto represents, 8th house represents the deep, deep, authentic change, the metamorphosis. So this is a really, changing guy, changeable guy. He's got his Venus in Taurus. Again, Venus is domiciled in Taurus in the 6th house, but approaching the 7th house, but it's conjunct the South Node. Venus and Taurus rules beauty, aesthetics, creativity, arts, sensory awareness, sensory, attunement, being very attuned to the senses, being very aware of the senses. Taurus has the best awareness of senses, and that's how they can have such good taste and quality. Taurus is a sign of taste and knowing taste and quality. So here with South Node conjunct Venus, he knew music, he knew art, he knew beauty, he knew sensual stuff, he knew quality, he knew what was good, what wasn't good, especially in the 6th house. The 6th house is enhancing all that because it's opposite. So here we have a very strong Venus in domicile in Taurus, but the 6th house represents Virgo, originally in the natural zodiac, opposite its exaltation in Pisces for Venus. So what does that mean? Here Venus is getting very critical. Even though it's strong in Taurus, it's also very critical because it's in the opposite. It's being housed in the, so it's not like a super happy Venus, but you have to understand it's gaining it's gaining something of its opposite with the 6th house. It's gaining that ability to be critical. And that's very important. If you're an artist who only has creative aspects, you're going to need somebody else to be able to edit your work. You're going to need like a manager, an editor, or somebody else who's going to just be able to refine your work. That's why the best artists also have strong, like critical Earth, Virgo, 6th house type placements, like Michael Jackson did as well, because that's the Virgo energy is the energy that can really take the creative work and refine it and make it that much better. That's why Virgo does play a major role in creative work, right? We don't think of Virgo as being a creative sign, or even Capricorn. Capricorn can do a similar thing, Virgo more. But the ability to be critical and to be able to have that eye, that judgmental eye that can separate things and cut things up and divide and paste and say, this is right, that's not right. This is a very strong Venus for that purpose, because South Node also shows the skills that we're born with, right? Some people say past life, but whether it's that or not, we don't really know, can't verify that. It's skills that we're born with. So he was very, very good from an early age with music. Plus his parents were musicians, so he was brought into it, he was born into it. Anything that you're born into automatically becomes something that you just have a natal skill for. If your parents are in a field and you're just born into that field, it's like something that's in your blood, in your DNA, in your bones. Like I was born into, energetic understanding, archetypal understanding of yin yang, 5 transformations, 9 key. So I understand archetypes. Also, health. I was born into health. So like I also understand health. That's what my parents taught me from a young age. Those 2 things, energetic understanding and the energetic understanding of food and health. So I understand those really well on a deep, deep DNA blood level. Prince understood music from that level. His parents were musicians. He was born South Node conjunct Venus in Taurus in the 6th house. He just had this excellent eye and ear for music. Mars, again, in domicile in Aries, excellent in the 5th house of creativity, right? 6th lord in the 5th house, right? So that's bringing a lot of that criticality into the 5th house of creativity. So it's like he's being able to be very creative, being very active. Mars is the planet of action, so it rules the whole body. So you can see skills and ability from Mars, just like you can with Mercury, but Mars skills are different because Mars rules the whole body. So here he can move his whole body, not just his hands. Mars can indicate like skilled hands, but it's more than that. It's whole body in domicile in Aries, and just very creative, very initiative, very here he's able to like be because Aries is the sign of cardinal fire, so it's initiatory. It's the first sign. Here he can just start. He can do anything. Like he can create something completely new with this combination. And if you'll notice, Mercury is in Gemini in domicile, Venus is in Taurus in domicile, Mars is in Aries in domicile, right? 5th, 6th, 7th. And that's amazing. That's really, really powerful. And that's why he was so skilled. All three of these, really. You know, Mercury ruling the skills of the hands, dispositing the sun, Venus ruling the sensibility. Venus is not skills, but it's being able to hear and taste and smell and see like the beauty, the right thing, right? I mean, he's probably had excellent taste in food as well as music, as well as art. You know, he just had that ability, like the sensorial, the sensory perception of beauty was very enhanced with Prince. He could really tell what was good quality in the arts, in the music, in everything. And here he was just very, very creative physically with Mars and Aries in the 5th house. And again, very creative again with this moon in Pisces in the 4th house. Disposited by Jupiter in the 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th house. Again, very creative. Jupiter's not such a, well, yeah, it is. I mean, because it rules Pisces, so it does have a creative aspect. So Jupiter in the 12th house, you know, ruling Pisces, 5th house cusp, 5th house Lord in the 12th. That's very creative, highly creative. 5th and 12th are the two most creative houses. You know, plus North Node and Neptune. North Node conjunct Neptune. Neptune is one of the symbols of the planets ruling. It's the co-ruler of Pisces, so it's a very creative planet. Imaginative, creative, spiritual, artistic, illusion, delusion. So like, yeah, some drugs, especially with you know, moon in Pisces, drugs, alcohol, potential. And he did die from fentanyl. And I don't know if there was foul play or not. You know, some people speculate that there was, but who knows? I mean, that's not really something I can confirm or deny anyway. But look at that. This, they call it a mystic rectangle. There's nothing mystical about it, but it's a really harmonious aspect, showing just real good communication between the planets involved. Moon, Jupiter, nodes, Pluto, nodes again, and then Venus by connection to the nodes. So highly, highly creative. Just a wealth of skill and talent. And yeah, I mean, he was prolific as can be. Oh, let's see, Leo's ruling the 10th house cusp, Sun in Gemini. So like, yeah, going into the skills of the hands and the 8th house. So he was really an occultist too. I mean, he probably liked astrology. He probably liked all the secret mystery stuff, all the hidden things. And I know that if you listen to some of his interviews, again, I'm repeating myself, but nonetheless, he was very into like 8th house mystery, occultism, and secrets, and conspiracy, and psychology, and all that stuff, and spirituality. Very heavy into all that. What else? It was something that I was going to say, kind of slipped my mind, but I think that's pretty much it. Like, we can really see the talents, then the creativity, and the career obsession all around here. His Saturn amazingly makes a very strong and powerful voice. We saw that again with Robert Plant. Robert Plant had the second house being ruled by Saturn, Capricorn, conjunct his sun in Leo, and powerful first house that fed the second house with Jupiter. But Saturn can make a very powerful voice. Yeah. Oh, so the negative aspects. So Saturn is opposite Sun. It's not super tight, but you know, that's adding to his to this kind of weird conservative quality that he had. Very shy, very self-protective, very fearful, like in public. I don't know, like when you watch his interviews, like besides all the whole conspiracy stuff, you can see like this protective quality that he has going on, like the shyness, this aloofness. So that's in relationship, Saturn to Sun. This Saturn makes everything want to like, Saturn's just like a wet blanket. And here in relationship, here when he's ever exposed to other people, I mean, that's also like Scorpio somewhat, but 8th house, but also Saturn opposite Sun. Yeah, that's a difficult aspect. What else? Moon square Mercury. Moon square Mercury is gonna have conflicts with friends and siblings. Could be a tendency towards you know, okay, it's saying so just forget I said that, not so moon square Mercury is going to have difficulty with their logical thinking, could be dishonesty, things like that, communication. Yeah. Difficulty with the mother in communication. Also, I mean, there could be potential mental illness. I don't want to say mental illness, but mental disturbances, since Mercury's the intellect, Moon's the mind, the inner mind. This is Pisces, so there could be a potential towards delusional thinking and just being not right in the head, and perhaps taking it out on drugs and alcohol. Which is quite possible. It's very common with the creative types, right? And then Mercury square. This is a T square, opposite Pluto, Moon opposite Pluto. So relationships in general are going to be very intense, very obsessive, controlling, power over dynamics with him and others. I mean, probably when he was younger, it was others who played that role with him, kind of dominating him, maybe his parents, his mother, potentially abusive. And then as he got older and more powerful, it was him with others, having this obsessive, dominating, controlling, scorpionic kind of way about him that was, squaring with the Mercury in Gemini. So like, he probably talk his way out of any situation, but not always with most integrity or honesty. Just kind of manipulating people, manipulating the ideas in order to get his way with people in relationships, things like that. Yeah, so I wouldn't put it past him to be able to manipulate the truth, because Pisces is not very bound by truth. Let's put it that way. They can delve into fantasy, and Mercury and Gemini, while not being dishonest, Gemini has an amazing ability to manipulate ideas. So they can be dishonest, but dishonesty is always a choice. People often attribute Geminis to being dishonest. Dishonesty is a choice. But if there was a choice to be dishonest, a Gemini, Mercury and Gemini could do, be wonderful liars because of their ability to manipulate ideas. And then Pluto is transforming, his moon and Mercury in not such easy ways. So yeah, I mean, there probably was some mental illness issues with Prince, but anyway, that's the way it goes. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there are any other aspects that I want to mention. I think that's pretty much it. That's Prince in a nutshell. Incredibly talented, incredibly diverse musician, and we see here with all these domicile planets and in very appropriate houses, and just everything is really just in the right place, in a very positive place for being a creative genius that he was, musician. He has no out of bounds or stationary planets, but not everyone does. Anyway, that's it for today. I will be back tomorrow with another mini reading, and see you soon. Thanks. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you enjoy this content. If you want to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com, and see you soon. Thanks. Bye.